wrote an article about dick pics that I will send you, and it tells you exactly what women do when we get them.
Unless she asks for the pic, don't send a pic. And I will say this to guys, don't show your face in that pic, because girls can be savages. They will show their girlfriends at the bar. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in for Your Come Up. We're on Your Come Up. We talk about all subjects to help you come up. If you watch part 1 of the video, does modern dating suck or do you suck at dating? I'll put the card right here, link in description. Thank you for tuning in for part 2 of Does Modern Dating Suck or Do You Suck at Dating? Where today we're gonna have a conversation here with Shantelle, going from online dating, that was part 1, to the first date and topics related to that. This is your first time here? Thank you for watching. Thank you for doing this again. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is fun for me. And if I could invite actually the viewers to comment below if they watched our part 1, if they had any questions or they took any of the tips and saw any changes. I love to hear other people's stories and situations. So feel free to interact with.
Any subjects or topics you want us to go further in? You know what, Shantelle? If your schedule's open, mine's open.
Flirty of you. The way it was your delivery. It was the look in your eye.
You know, it's the coffee talking. I put little Baileys in there. Here's a trick I did whenever I would just crumble. Like, I don't know where the fudge to take this girl to first date. I'm craving Italian. I'm a dude. I'm easy. My dad taught me this. Is if you don't know where to take her to, play this little trick on her. Ask her, okay, where do you think we're going to go eat today? And then usually the first answer she suggests is like, oh, how'd you know? Yeah, Italian. Yeah, I was going to take you to, let's go to, I don't know, whatever the Italian restaurant's close by. Because usually her first answer is what she's craving. Let's say you're at the place, you're eating. What are the turnoffs that guys and girls do on the first date? Where a girl does this, guys are like, bruh. And if a guy does this, girls are like, hell nah. What are turnoffs guys and girls do on the first date?
There are a few of these, and some we're doing unconsciously, and so we're not even aware that we do them, and we might lose an opportunity in the next day, not know why they just disappeared or they didn't call us back, right? So these are definitely things to look out for. Okay. First and foremost, do not be late. First impressions are everything. I have said this many times before. So if you're showing up 20 minutes late and your date is just sitting there like drinking a martini by herself,
maybe she's 2 or 3 martinis in, you're thinking it's a good time, she's pissed and
buzzed. It makes us think, what is the relationship gonna look like? If he doesn't respect my time on a first date, what is this gonna look like 6 months from now or a year from now? Is this gonna be an ongoing occurrence, right?
Women, think about that. If he's on time for this, what else is he gonna be late for?
Right, was I not a priority today? Was this not important to him? So things happen in life. If let's say there was a horrible car accident on the way there, understandably so, pick up the phone call, put your Bluetooth on in your car and let her know, I'm on my way. I'm so sorry. I hate being late. I'm literally stuck behind a car accident. I'll be there as soon as I can. Looking forward to it. That shows respect. That makes me comfortable waiting there. I'm like, okay, I'm not getting stood up. He's not a jerk. There were circumstances and now I'm okay drinking, by myself until he gets here kind of thing. Do not drink too much.
Because I'm definitely not a one drink kind of guy. So you have to know your limits. Yeah.
You can have fun. And a lot of the time we match each other's energy, right? So if you go to a bar and she's drinking a little bit more, you might match her on that and drink a little bit more as well. However, you do not want to be that one person who's drinking a lot and the other person's not.
Right.
You don't want to get to that point where you don't know what you said. You don't know what you did. You wake up the next morning going, oh man, did I blow that last night? Right? And it is such a turn off when you're sober and you've just met a man who you're attracted to, but you don't quite know yet. And he's slurring or he's saying inappropriate things because he's had too much alcohol or he's flirting with the server, which is another one on the list, by the way. Not attractive. So yeah, that was a good segue into the next one. You want that person to feel special. That person that's with you on the date, you want to make them feel like you're there 100%. You have my attention, I'm listening, I'm sharing with you, I'm flirting, I'm showing you signals, all that stuff. Right away by doing something like that, if there was a hot man bartender back there and I'm busy paying attention to him, what is that telling you? I'm not focused on you. Maybe this is what I do all the time. I'm busy flirting or, have the tendencies to move around the room, if you know what I mean. I'm bored. If you're not into the conversation that's happening, those are usually the things you'll do. You start looking around, you'll pay attention to the music that's playing, you'll notice other people. So either way, it's not a good sign, right? So of course, you definitely want to refrain. When you talk too much, here's another thing. This can be, sometimes this can be nerves. So you want to decipher between those two things. Okay. If somebody's nervous, they can speak quickly. They can sometimes overshare, which is another one on the list. But just remember that person wants to learn about you, but you also want to reciprocate. Right. Questions. Lead with curiosity. So after answering something, flip it back on them. If they asked you about one of your hobbies or, are you into nature? Once you've answered that, well, are you often doing things outside? Is that a priority for you? Flip it so that the conversation can continue. You don't want to keep that person bored. Next one is oversharing, and it can be because of nerves. And sometimes people just don't pay attention to the filter they should have on a first date. By no means am I telling you to lie on a first date. I'm just telling you that there's a time and a place to tell certain things and to give them information, right? A little bit of mystery never hurt anyone. People usually
don't give me the whole novel the first date. Yeah.
So if I'm rambling on and telling you a story about the gory details of my last breakup and my ex and what was horrible about him, and you're going to be sitting on the other side of the table going, whoa.
You ain't over your ex, so why am I here?
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's some negativity. You're obviously not over him. It just puts us in a bad place. So you want to be careful. Or, if I'm telling you a story and want to tell you about all the antidepressants that I'm taking every single day, that's okay if you are. And we'll get into that later on. But on a first date, it's just an overshare. It turns into an awkward conversation, right? So you want to pick those moments for sure. There's two sides of this. For some women, a turnoff can be the man not paying on a first date. Okay. Not for every woman. Dating has changed quite a bit. Some women are, say absolutely not. I want to go halvesies and don't want the man to pay on a first date. Sometimes that's a sign if they don't want a second date or if they're not really interested. Okay. Some women feel better paying half so that they don't feel like they're obligated for a second date or that they took them for a ride. There's also this thing that's happening called the foodie call. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Cute term, but it's horrible. You don't know. It's literally women who are taking their interest in someone or asking for a date just so they can get a free meal, which is horrible because it's put a lot of men on the defense when it comes to this. Do I pay? Do I not? Is she using me? Is she pretending to be into me? It's kind of an unfair situation. Mm-hmm. So if that's someone, like if you're doing that, if you're someone listening and that's the thing that you do, don't do that to people. It's just plain mean. Right. What goes around comes around, right? And then another thing is your phone. This is a big one. Put your damn phone away. Leave it in your car. Leave it in your pocket. I don't want to see it. And when people put their phone, it's so funny. They put their phone on the table, but it's like, but it's closed and it's face down. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
It means you're ready for action if that phone is buzzing.
The fact that it is on the table in front of you means that this is still a focus. This is still, could be more important than my date.
It doesn't matter. These phones are so big, like the iPhone 12 Pro Max or the Galaxy is so big. It's like, and these, let's say you're wearing skinny jeans, I can't.
Put it in your jacket pocket.
Okay, all right. I was testing on that. That was a good answer. That was a good answer.
Leave it in your car. You could even go up to the bartender and be like, dude, I'm here on a date. I have nowhere to put my phone. Can I leave this behind the bar with you? I'll come pick it up at the end. It doesn't matter what your method is. There's no reason. If there's an emergency, if there's something huge that was happening that night and you needed to pick up the phone, I would just preface that and say, hey, look, I would never do this on a first date. I'm here to get to know you. However, I got this really important phone call. A babysitter's at home taking care of my kid. I want to make sure for safety reasons, I'll only answer it if she calls. And then usually the other person is like, okay, great. Thanks so much for telling me that. But looking at it every time, because there's no way that this is going to ding or go off and you're not going to do a little glance over, right?
Right.
And what does that tell the other person? You're not important. You're second. My phone comes first. There's so many other things I'd rather be doing right now. Sure. There's a lot of mixed messages that gives. You'll realize when you have a conversation, and you can test this out next time you're out with a woman. When you have a conversation, you're 100% into it. Like you're leaning in.
Yeah, leaning in is a good sign.
It is full eye contact. I have no other distractions and I am listening to you on a deep level. The connection that you can feel in those moments and where you can bring that is so out of this world and it's so simple, but it can make a huge difference.
Okay.
Your body language, the way you speak to someone, your listening skills, all of that. So you test those things out. This is one of the most important things to say about dating. Dating is about learning. Dating is not just about getting married, finding the mother of your children, going to get laid. It is literally about learning how to do things better, learning how to communicate, learning how to keep the momentum going, learning how to date well, not having those awkward hellos, not having those awkward goodbyes. Right. So even if you have a bad experience, there's always something that you learned that night, that you can go home and be like, okay, it didn't work out, but this is what I'm going to take from it so that my next date is going to be that much better.
I mean, speaking of, let's say on that date, Let's say it's just going south. Let's say on the guy's end, he's I don't know, a little bit of a narcissist. He's a jerk. He's flirting with the waitress and the bartender. Or let's say on the woman's end, she's talking way too much about her ex. And you're like, really? And you just order scallops and potatoes and chocolate cake for dessert too? I'm not sitting through this. But is there a way to bow out gracefully, or just, you know what, suck it up? You don't have to invite her out again, or invite him out again, or accept his invitation again.
Okay, so I have 2 suggestions. But first of all, I would always say, your first date doesn't have to be a marathon. Your first date is simple, unless you have really.
Unless it's with Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, I'm gonna step it up.
Phone calls. If you've had video chats and you already have a good connection, that's one thing. Okay. If it's someone that you're meeting for the first time, do something simple, like just an appy. Don't have a full meal. Maybe just an appy and a drink. Maybe a short walk. You can put a timeline. I know some people who dates during the day, because it's easier for them to keep it short, just have a two-hour conversation. It gives you the opportunity to make that date longer if there is a really good connection. So if I show up and I told you, I have an early morning tomorrow, I might have to wrap it up around 10 o'clock. Are you cool with that? And you say, yeah, no problem. And we're out. And I'm totally digging you. I'm going to forget that I need to wake up early tomorrow. And I'm going to be like, who cares? Let's keep this going.
Yeah.
You have that opportunity.
I can take a nap later.
To do the opposite. If I say, oh, you got me for 8 hours tonight. And then we're on hour 1 and I'm going, oh my God, I need out. Yep. This is going to be a long night. So there's 2 ways of dealing with this when this happens. Again, going back to the dating is about learning. If there's not a love connection, but you feel like you're still having a good time, which often I will suggest that people do activities, right? Instead of creating this interview vibe on a date where it's just sitting across from the table, going back and forth, go and do something. Go rock climbing, go bowling, go to a concert, whatever it may be. That way, also, if you have a bad experience, there's not a love connection, you can still have an enjoyable night with a stranger or a new friend. They might not be your next Romeo, but maybe we both like to hike and we might join this hiking club together and, enjoy some of that in the summer. But take it as an opportunity, don't see it as, oh, what a wasted evening, or, what a wasted time. You can still actually enjoy that person's company. And the other way around it is being honest in a very nice way. There's a way to be honest but not be mean at the same time. And if you're just not feeling someone, so let's say someone suggests going to a second location. You've had dinner. Oh, why don't we walk up the street to this great little cafe I know of. We can walk there and we can grab a coffee.
Right.
And you're not feeling it and you want out, then that's your opportunity to say, I had a great time. It was lovely getting to know you. I just don't think it's the type of chemistry that I'm looking for. Or I don't necessarily think that we're a love match. However, I think we would have a lot of fun hanging out. If that's something that you want to do. If you see a friendship there, you can suggest that. If you don't see a friendship there, you don't even have to go there. Letting down someone nicely saves them from getting ghosted. It saves them from not knowing, from him going home and thinking, oh, that was a wicked date. I'm looking forward to seeing her next week, when really those are not your intentions. So it keeps the other person off the hook too. And it's just a nice thing to do instead of ghosting. Rejection will sting no matter what. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, how long you've been in the dating game, what kind of rejection stings. Sure. However, we all get over it and we move on. And it's the way you handle it. You can make it sting a little bit more, or you can make it sting a little less.
Right, rejection does sting no matter who you are, but
you never get used to it.
No, you never do. But let's talk about, now we went from like a down subject, let's talk about an up subject. So this is like a 2 question in 1 question.
Okay.
All right. What are things that women and men do to one another, with like a flirting sign or flirting game or whatnot, that makes them melt? So what are things that men do that make women like, oh my God, girl, he should stop it? And what are things girls do that make guys like, bro, like, I'm hot and steamy, man. Just don't TikTok me right now. I don't know. But
okay, so the first 2 categories that comes to mind when we're talking about a first date is physical, flirty signals, and verbal. Okay. So physical cues, which I will admit a lot of men do not pick up on these cues. Okay, so listen up. Some of them are obvious, some of them are a little more subtle, but you'll hear guys the next day be like, well, I had no idea she was interested in me. And she's like, you kidding me? How could you not know?
Right.
So it's paying attention to those little things. So to go back to what we were talking about before, when you're in conversation and someone's leaning in, she's already interested.
Interested.
what is that telling you, right? It's delivering a completely different signal. Exactly, eye contact. If I'm really in tune with you and you're telling me a story and I'm just lost in those eyes, that's going to tell you something. So pay attention to those things. Some people have physical things they do, whether it's, playing with their hair, biting their lip. Not everyone does that, but some people will kind of get
Is biting the lip conscious or subconscious with women?
Sure, there are women out there that do it on purpose, but I think some of those things are subconscious. Like, I don't think I actually have any of those behaviors, whether it's fixing the hair or whatever, but I've seen people that do it and then they don't even notice that they do it. Okay. They just get into that zone of like, oh, I like this guy, I'm flirting with him, and so their body language changes. Okay. How you dress on a date will tell you that, how you present yourself. Yeah, eye contact, lots of smiling. If they look miserable, they're probably not having a good time. If she's grinning ear to ear, that's probably a good sign. Reasons to touch you. Women will often do this where they'll laugh at your joke and then they'll put their hand on your shoulder. True. Or on your leg, or just like swat you playfully and be like, oh, come on, when you're teasing them. It sounds so cheesy.
You're so silly. Like that, right?
Yeah. Punchy, but
well, not punch, but like the playful punch. She's not trying to Mike Tyson me or anything.
It's like all these little physical cues that we don't really notice. Right. And men will do that too. I find that men will lean in. Men, if they're bold and they're really having a good time on the first date, they'll grab your hand, which I think is really sweet, just holding your hand at the table while you're talking. And then they often do the lower back hold, which a lot of women love when they're walking.
If she likes you, she will allow it. Because that is, I don't know, there's something about the lower back hold that just endorphins or something. I have no clue.
Yeah, it's super sexy. So if somebody's not interested in you, they're probably not going to be doing any of these things. However, it's not to say, I don't want people to go on a date and be like, oh, well, she did none of those, she hates me. Some people are less physical, right? Or are less comfortable with the physical aspect on a first date.
Probably more traditional.
So don't jump to conclusions. However, these are all things that you can be looking out for. And then you have your verbal cues, compliments. If you walk into a date and the woman says, man, you look really handsome. Like, you look good in your photos, but in person? Something, if they lead with something like that, you're like, oh man, okay, already.
Damn, boy, Instagram does no justice with you. I don't know.
But right away, okay, good. I know he's attracted to me. I know I look like my photos. He's pleased. That kind of takes the pressure off there. People saying flirty things, wanting to know more about, who you are, saying, suggesting a third or a second date, suggesting that they want to see you again, suggesting that, complimenting you or thanking you for sharing things. Any of those that you got to pay attention to the verbiage. So anything that's like, I want to, what are you doing next week? Let's do that. Or like, oh, that'd be cool if you're talking about yoga. Oh, there's this yoga class I know of like next Wednesday. That'd be really cool if we tried that together. Okay. Any of these cues, we're blatantly handing you the signals going, okay. And then the more obvious signs are really obvious. Like if she makes a sexual pass. If she says, come back to my house, let's do this. Or come back to my house, let's have another drink. Or
that's a nightcap right there.
Right? If she was sexting you, if she was, sexting you before the date and revving you up, these are obvious signs that she is into you. It could just be a physical thing.
I want to add to that. Let's say, fellas, if she says something like, you look like you're trouble, that's a sign. And the perfect answer is, you look like you get in trouble. That it's just it's mystery, but it's also innuendo, indirect. But yeah, it keeps the spice going, I guess you can say.
That's exactly it. And you can tell right on a date what direction it's going in and what they're looking for. If it is started out quite sexual and you can feel that tension, you can feel that chemistry, and physically you're all over each other, there's nothing wrong with that. Right. Those are way more obvious signs, right? It's all the little subtle things that we want to look out for. So just pay attention to body language, pay attention to how they speak and what they speak about, how they react to you. Those are all, and this works with all the other things that we spoke about, like putting your cell phone away, all those little details. If they offer to pay on the first date, those are also little signs that they like you, they care about you, and they want to see you again.
On the first date, if she offers to pay, I'm going to say, no, I asked you out, I'm paying. It's just old school to me. But I also like in one of your videos where you pointed out, but also if she offers, doesn't mean she's going to. It's just a gesture, like a respectful thing, right?
Right.
Where you can tell her no, and guys, don't fall for that trick. Like, bro, she's gonna spend, she's paying for half. F it. No, that might be a test too. That if you go for it, okay, he let me pay it. I don't know if I really want that second date with him. Not because I paid, but just I don't know. I think guys should just pay for the first date, you know, in my opinion.
And again, it depends on the person. I'm a little bit more old school, so I think the same way. However, you know, a lot of guys nowadays will expect the reach over. They want to know that she is willing to pay or would at least offer, but they don't expect her to. They know that
it shows independence on her end too. Like, yeah, we like women that are independent.
To not make them feel like you expect it.
Got it.
Or you know, it's my right. No, you went on this lovely dinner, and it's amazing that he has offered to pick up the bill, and I'm appreciative of that. When you just sit back and don't offer to pitch in, and you don't care what the message you're giving off is, well, he should. Who is he? Who am I? Right?
Well, she's sitting back like she got her stretchy pants on, right?
and it's okay to communicate about these things later on, right? A few dates into it, because so many people live by different rules. Some people are like, the man should pay for the first few. The person who thinks of the date or is the one to invite the other person out should pay. Women should never pay. They should pay Dutch from the start. You know, there's so many different ideals out there that it's okay after so many dates to be like, you know what, how do you usually do this in a relationship? Like, what are your strategies? Because I do it this way, but I'm open to whatever. This is how I feel. Okay. Share that with them and then listen, you know, to their side of things and find a common ground that works for both of you. It is a crappy way to lose someone. Right. Like, it's a silly thing to lose someone over. So if a woman is expecting you to pay on the first date and you don't, yet the date actually went amazingly, it's a silly reason. So tomorrow she might be so stuck on the fact, well, he didn't even pay. I expected him to pay and he didn't even offer to pay and I'm pissed off and that's it. Missing an opportunity because there might be a reason why you didn't pay. Right. Maybe the person that you went out with before me thought about it with you and said, no, you know, I want to pay half. We're going to go Dutch on this. You know, I don't need to be taken care of. Maybe she gave you a hard time. I don't know that. Right. So it's definitely okay to communicate about those things.
Let's talk about something juicy, a horror dating story, and what did you learn from it? I don't know if it's something as crazy as, dude, this guy went from a coach to trying to ask the dating coach out to stock status. I don't know. I'm blocking him. I don't know. But what's your horror dating story and what did you learn from it?
It's always an interesting conversation when you tell me. Always. Either they think that you're just a project.
Yeah, you know, like
subject you're going to use on the next video.
The trophy date, bro. I dated the coach. Oh, the shots. I don't know, but it's...
Actually, usually they're intimidated because they think you're going to be analyzing their move, right? Which is not the case at all. Okay, so I've had years ago, I had a few good years where there was a million different horror stories. So it was a third day with this man. Everything was going great. We seemed to get along just fine. And this was the first night where he offered to go back to his place for a drink. And I said, yes. So we go back, and on the way he says, you know, oh, I live alone. He's telling me about his home and, you know, his lifestyle there. And I said, great. Show up, go into the driveway, and it's a pretty big house. So when we pull up, I'm like, oh, damn, he's doing well for himself. Like, oh, good. This is surprising. And we go inside in the front door, and it is like an old-fashioned European home. Okay, I'm Italian. Okay, they make fun of us for covering our furniture with plastic, having the tacky plates on the walls. Like, we're talking about older generation Italian. Okay,
you're some of this fettuccine, you're not going to say the same thing. So
this man's house looked like he was a 90-year-old Italian boy. Okay, he was actually Greek. Okay. So I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, this is not what I pictured his style to be. Interesting. So then he opens the door and he walks me down to the basement. And from the bottom of the stairs to his bedroom, do you remember those old dividers you used to have in kindergarten? The teacher would put up those standalone dividers to divide the room.
Yeah, I do.
So he basically had a bunch of those in a row that was his hallway. And then he had stapled posters and construction paper to it, which I guess was supposed to be like his wallpaper. I go into his bedroom and I'm like, okay, this is not this man's house. Like, why would he be living in the basement? Like, his little kitchen was there, his room was there. It was a total mess. He definitely didn't clean up for me. So all of a sudden we hear this muffled yelling from upstairs and I'm like, what the hell is that? He told me he lived alone. And he's trying to ignore, he's trying to put on the moves, you know, we're kissing, whatever, getting hot and heavy. Ooh. And I said, did you not hear that? And he's like, oh, don't worry. And he keeps kissing. I said, would you have a landlord? Like, do you want to go and see that something's not wrong? He's like, no, I told him to go home. 2 seconds later, we're standing in his bedroom making out. Does his father not run down those stairs in his tighty whities, okay, totally naked except for his tight little white underwear, runs down the stairs screaming, but he's speaking in Greek, so I have no idea what he's saying. I have no idea. I'm just standing there like this, going back and forth between the two. And they're just yelling and screaming. I'm like, okay, don't know what happened, and I'm assuming this is his dad at that moment. I actually didn't know, right?
Right.
And they're in each other's face, yelling, and finally it's done, and his dad, you know, throws his hands up in the air, turns around and goes back upstairs, and I said, what the hell was that? I said, who is that? He goes, it's my dad. And I was like, yeah, I figured. And he goes, he was pissed because he woke up to go pee, looked out the window and somebody was parked behind his car, and he was worried that the next day he had to get up early for work. He wasn't gonna be able to get out.
Oh my God. Was that your car?
Yes. Because I was told that he lived alone. So this poor guy, I just saw him, he just shrunk into himself. He was so embarrassed and so mortified by the situation. And for me, I was done. Like, you had already lied to me. It doesn't, there's one thing, here's what I learned. So I leave that night, basically. He tries to explain. I said, you know what, I don't even want to talk about this right now. It's so ridiculous. So I just leave. He ends up harassing me for days on end online, like trying to make up for it. Let's go it again. Give me a phone call. Like, I didn't mean to. I learned that not everyone is honest from the start. I always try to lead with honesty. I try to lead with good intentions. I tell them what I'm looking for. You know, I don't surprise anybody, because you treat people how you want to be treated. That old saying that your parents used to tell you, right? Whether or not he did it because he was self-conscious about his situation, you know, I think there was a lack of confidence in where he was at in his life. But if a person likes you, they'll be okay with that.
Well, and we all have a start. We all have a start.
I'll have that thing, right? So if he were to come to me and say, look, I know I'm in my late 30s. I want to be here. This is the scenario. I do live at home because of X, Y, and Z, but I have plans too. And if they tell you their goals and you know they're on a way somewhere, I probably would have looked at that situation a little differently. But because he totally lied, he even tried to keep the lie when he heard his dad yelling out at him. Like, he tried to salvage it.
What is that? Oh, that's nothing.
Ignore that. You're just hearing things. You're going crazy. You had a little too much to drink. It baffled me. What was the, I would eventually find out. When you say, oh, hey, do you want to come and meet my family 3 to 6 months, you know, into the relationship? You think I'm not going to recognize him at the dinner table and be like, hey, wait a second. Yeah. Wasn't that man the one I saw naked? It's not, and I'm not saying that he went into this vindictively or, you know, planned on lying to me. I think people do it for different reasons, and I think in his circumstance was that he didn't have the confidence at the time and didn't feel comfortable with where he was in life. However, if that's you, you have two options: to be honest with the person and tell them, you know, what you're planning for your future, or you don't date if you don't feel good about yourself and the situation you're in. Maybe you wait. You know, get your stuff together, get that confidence back. But it was certainly not the way to handle things. And look what ended up happening. I never went out with him about it, and being truthful from the start is the direction you want to go in.
On another subject, why do men and women ghost? Is it because people are not confrontational or hate confrontation, or is there another underlying reason why men and or women ghost?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons. I think that sadly it has become the norm. So it's not even looked at as if it is something bad. Okay. Everyone does it. You know, that person might be thinking, well, I got ghosted 5 times in the last month, so who cares? I can do it to other people. So a lot of people don't sit down and think, well, how is this going to affect the other person? Is this going to hurt feelings? How do I come across? They just do it and don't think about it, right? Right. I also think it is a want to avoid conflict. It's having a hard conversation with someone you don't necessarily know well. And when you don't know someone well, it seems less important to go there. So if it was like a best friend or a sibling, for instance, and you had something pretty heavy to talk about or something to address, you'd more likely, although it's a tough conversation, you'd go there because they're important to you. Right. That's your family, that's your best friend. When it's someone you haven't met or have only met once before, you don't feel that connection. You don't feel that need to do it. You still should, but it doesn't feel like a priority, right? And so it's the easier thing to do. It's the easier thing for people just to delete you off the app or to ignore you for the next week, because I can wipe my hands of it. I don't have to feel awkward. I don't have to feel guilty for turning you down. I don't have to start an argument. It is such a selfish way of handling it, to be honest, and I try not to. There are reasons to ghost, however, I'm not saying never ghost. If somebody is inappropriate, if somebody is, you know, says something, whatever it may be, sexist, racist, sends you an inappropriate photo, is swearing at you, is harassing you, any of those reasons, yes, ghost without explanation. You have every right to do that. But if the person has tried to be a good human being and has treated you, you know, appropriately, then there's no reason to do those things. So, you know, we discussed it before. It's like, how do you go about that? Send a text either that night or the next day. I had a great time last night. I just don't think that, you know, what I'm looking for, or maybe we don't align on certain things. You're a great person, just, you know, not perfect for me. Right. I wish you all the best in your dating thing, or, you know, I know you're going to find someone great, you know, wish you all the luck. Usually the response will be quite positive. Anytime that I have done that, usually the person says, Yeah, that's tough. I was looking forward to date number 2, but I thank you for being honest and thanks for letting me know. Right. If not, you leave that person just sitting there wondering what the hell happened. Right. Especially when we talked about those flirty signals. Often those things can happen, and which is why I never want to give you a for sure, like, oh, if she does this, that for sure means that I'm getting a second date, because that's never the case. Mm-hmm. Somebody can give us all the right signals, say all the right things, touch us. You can even have an amazing makeout session. You can have sex on the first date and still get ghosted. And sometimes we don't get answers, right? You never know what's going on in their life. Maybe they just weren't interested. Maybe the sex was horrible. Maybe the kiss was horrible. Maybe they've been talking to someone else online and they're just further along in that relationship. Maybe they realize that they don't want a relationship at all. There's so many other things that can happen on the other side. We don't know, and a lot of the time we don't get those answers, and sometimes we internalize that. Again, take it as a learning lesson. You might never get those answers. Okay. You can ask. I mean, if somebody ghosts you, you're more than welcome to send them a text and say, hey, I haven't heard back from you the last 2 weeks. I thought we had a great first date. Like, what happened? Sometimes you will get a response and it will be a truthful response and you'll learn something from it. And sometimes they're going to take the easier road, which is to say nothing, right?
Right, that's true.
But if you don't know what you don't ask.
True. And then I've also seen some where a guy texts like, hey, or not hey, but text, now answer. And then later on, a day later, well, you're not texting me back? Well, you're so damn busy. What? Okay, really? Well, I just had another girl over here that I'm a date. How you like that? Okay, that is a perfect reason for you to be ghosted right now, because that is, you don't do, I mean.
Be patient when it comes to dating and give people a chance, right? If she hasn't responded in a few weeks, it probably just means that she's not interested or you're not a priority. If it's been a couple of days, give it time, or you're welcome to then follow up. Hey, like, haven't heard from you since Monday, just making sure you're having a great day today, or thinking about you. It can be something very simple that re-engages that conversation. If she continues to ghost you, well, that's a sign that she's not interested. We have no idea what's going on. She could have 2 kids at home that are sick. She could have just lost her job. She could really just be busy at work. We don't know. But communication. Everyone's sick of that word, but it is literally the most important thing when it comes to dating and relationships, right?
True.
Ask questions. Be curious.
Let's say you're on a date and she does this. If she does this, you're definitely getting a second date. Let's say in your head, I would love to date her again, but you don't know if she wants to. But if she does this, you're definitely getting a second date. What are those?
I think the only thing that she could do or say to make it clear that she wants a second date is to say, I want to see you again. I want a second date. Okay. When are we going out next week? Okay. Because, and we did talk a little bit about this, fireworks could have gone off that night. Mm-hmm. Things happen. Right. We just sometimes don't know what is going on in their life, right? It just doesn't pan out for whatever reason. So I hate to say, if she kisses you on the first date, 100% you're going out again, because that's not necessarily the truth. But if she makes it clear and says, I want to see you again, or goes home and texts you, I had an amazing time, how about next Tuesday for date number 2? Mm-hmm. She literally tells you.
So no, cool, what you say, like some positive signs don't necessarily mean a second date, but you're right, some are actually going to say, hey, I would love to do this again. This was fun.
Why not tell people where you stand, right? Why, a lot of people have such a fear around that. If you're really digging someone and you want to see them again, why not tell them on date number 1? Why not be sitting there at the end of date number 1, be like, I had an amazing time tonight. I would love to see you next week. Are you up for that? If I'm in, usually you know, right? You know if you're into each other. If I'm into you as well and you said that, I'm melting because I'm like, damn, he has confidence. He is telling me that he's into me. He wants to see me again, and he's willing to put in the effort to make the damn plan. If the signals are not clear and you're really not sure this woman has been, kind of confusing, and you don't know if she's into you, then I wouldn't necessarily put her on the spot on the first date by saying, how about date number 2? Because that might put her in an awkward situation where she has to tell you in person and whatnot. But usually you can tell the vibe.
As a guy, for me, I have no problem saying, hey, this was fun. I would love to do this again. If she kind of gets like, okay, I got, that's all good. I'm cool with it, Because, it's just, it makes you more as a high value man that, okay, you cut your losses onto the next one. There's always a but for every seat. That's just not the seat for you.
You're being clear with your intentions. You can do that on date 1. You can do that when you get home at night. I had a great time tonight. Love to see it again.
That's probably the better way to do it, because she's not on the spot.
You'll feel it, right? You'll know if she's really into you and you've had a good makeout session. You probably know there's going to be a date number 2. It's probably going to go in your favor. Or you wait till the next morning. Don't wait the 3 days. Everyone hates that feeling of sitting at home going, I don't know. I really liked him.
Yeah, that 3-day deal, is that really for real? I just do it the next day. You know, good morning, had fun, hope to do it again sometime. You know?
I think when we were all younger, that was an actual rule that we went by. But now when you're older, it's like, put your intentions out there. If you want to see them again, don't wait a damn week and get busy with other things and be like, oh, I'll eventually get to her. Okay. Show her, tell her your interest.
Last question, because I'm sure the viewers are going to want to know, and I'm going to put you on
where we
blast
got
on this.
The title?
Yeah, because they want to know, okay, question. Does modern dating suck, or do we suck at dating? What's your answer, Shantelle?
I love that. I think you came up with that title, and I laughed. I said, oh, God, that's good.
You came up with the first half. I came up with the second half.
I love it. Good collab. My answer is both. Okay. My answer is, I think people have become so bad at dating that it has turned our modern dating world into a nightmare at times. Dating now can be so agonizing and so tough in a lot of ways, but that is our doing. It is literally, these things are choices. The breadcrumbing, the ghosting, the not treating people well, the leaving someone at a bar and not even showing up, the misbehavior, the sending dick pics, the rude comments, all of that stuff.
Unless she asks for the pic, don't send a pic. And I will say this to guys, don't show your face in that pic, because girls can be savages. They will show their girlfriends at the bar. Like, look at this dude sent me. Like, is that his face? Huh? You know.
I literally just wrote an article about dick pics that I will send you, and it tells you exactly what women do when we get them. And it also tells you when it is appropriate to send a dick pic and when we want a dick pic, because there are different reasons. But anyway, to get back to the question, is these are all choices. How you date, when you present yourself with a certain type of energy, people will usually match that energy, right? If you're being an asshole and you're treating people horribly, well, you're not going to attract a level 10 woman who has done the work and knows herself and has confidence and is beautiful and has a great job and all those. Why would you? You're going to attract people on your same level. Look at the way you are dating. For anyone who's watching this, like, how do I treat people online? What are my opening lines? Do I actually put time and effort into it? It's funny to me that people will put effort into every other category of their life. What they're going to eat every day, what they're going to wear in the morning, put money into courses to make your job better. I could go on and on and on. When it comes to dating, there's this thing where, well, we shouldn't have to learn. We shouldn't have to grow in that space or pay money in that space because it's just natural. I should know. I'm a man. I should know how to pick up. I should know how to pursue. I should know how to kiss. I should know how to have sex. No, we all need improvements in all different areas of our lives, right? This is how we learn and we grow.
Right.
So I think once you start changing your behavior online and date how you would want someone to date you, it spirals. It's like then the next person you come in contact will be matching that energy. They'll see how nice you were about it. They'll see how respectful you were, and then they'll start doing the same. Awesome. It's like, it's a ripple effect, right?
Right.
And you got to hold people accountable. If somebody does something to you or sends you an unsolicited pic, you tell them how you feel. So the next time you're hoping that next time he sends that to another woman, he remembers that interaction and says, oh, right, I should probably do this a little differently because it didn't work out the last time. Don't let people get away with shit.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Appreciate you for coming on today, Shantelle. This is awesome. And if you guys are watching this, thank you. Don't forget to drop us a like, a subscribe, and the bell notification. If there's any other topics that you would like to see Shantelle talk about, I'll link her YouTube channel in description. Comment below, let us know, and I will do my best to bribe Shantelle with coffee and food on the show. So
I could always be bribed with food and dessert, for sure, 100%.
A girl's got to eat, right? So thank you guys again. Until next time.
Thank you.